there, how's it going? I am Kelsey. I'm a nutritional therapist. I am a paleo chef and baker, and I am the author of the new cookbook, Paleo Sweets. You're with me in my kitchen today in Santa Monica, and I'm really excited to have you here because we are going to be making slice and bake paleo brownie cookies. I'm really excited to share this recipe with you, but before I jump in, I just want to get a little love. If you can show me some loves, if you can hear me, I just want to make sure everyone gets all the information they need to be able to whip up this recipe in their own kitchens as soon as possible. So, hello! Oh, I'm so happy to see everyone here. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. I have to say again, the slice and bake brownie cookies, when I even came up with the idea to write Paleo Sweets, I was like, done, this one's in it, because it's one that I personally use all the time. You'll find it when you order your copy. So we'll post a link so you can grab your free copy of Paleo Sweets cookbook. Just pay shipping, and it'll be available as soon as I quit this video. I'm going to go ahead and put the link right underneath so you guys can grab your copy. So this recipe is on page 149, and it's really easy to throw together. And one thing I love about it is not only is it easy to throw together, but it's kind of a fix it ahead of time and then have it ready when you want it recipe, because you can make this cookie dough, and I'm going to show you how to prep it, put it in a log, and then you stick it in your freezer, and whenever you want a cookie, if you just want one cookie, you slice off one cookie and you bake it. And so you can have a fresh baked cookie or 2 or 3 whenever you want, and you don't have to worry about going through the mess of making a dozen cookies. Not that I generally consider that a problem, but I know personally that if there are a dozen cookies there, I will eat them. I will find a way. You know, you don't want them to go bad, you don't want them to get stale, so I'll find a way to eat a dozen cookies. So in a sense, this recipe can save me from myself, but it's also great if you just kind of want a late night sweet treat, and again, you don't want to make a mess in the kitchen. If you have some of this cookie dough in your freezer, you can whip up these cookies in 10 to 12 minutes. So we'll go ahead and get started with our ingredients. The base for the cookies is almond butter. Almond butter is amazing, and it's such a great healthy fat. It has a lot of vitamin E and fiber. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 cup to the bowl. And as I'm making this, I'm going to show you guys a couple of tricks for how to simplify the recipe a little bit, because I noticed in the cookbook we use 3 bowls, and today we are only going to use 2. So there you go. So I just put in 1 cup of almond butter. And I just got ahead of myself, so that's okay. We'll keep going forward. I'm going to go ahead and add the eggs. 2 eggs, 2 whole eggs. And again, these add a little bit of protein and a little bit of healthy fat. Oh my gosh, hold on. I want to show you guys this. I don't know if you can see, but I just got an egg that had 2 yolks in it. Oh my gosh. I've never had that happen before. Okay, just had to share that with you guys. That's so cute. So we're still going to add another egg because that's technically 1 egg. Adventures in the kitchen. You can plan as much as you want, and sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my spatula and break up the yolks and start to mix them in, get them combined with the almond butter. Stir it around, and you'll notice again, because almond butter has fat, it might take you a few minutes longer to get the eggs kind of mixed in, or what they call emulsified. Again, the fats are kind of pushing the liquid away, so we have to convince them that they are friends. The almond butter and the eggs are friends, and they're going to merge together to make us a really yummy, delicious, paleo-friendly cookie dough. So this is flourless, no dairy, no refined sugar. They're cookies you can really feel good about eating. All right, scooping it around. Stir, stir, stir. And even when it looks like it starts to get incorporated a bit, you want to keep mixing, because sometimes there's a little bit of egg white left, but because it's clear when it's raw, you're not going to be able to see it as well. So scoop it around just like that, and you see I'm like kind of scooping and pressing against the side. Again, you're friends, you love each other. And I also want to take a second to point out that when you order your copy of Paleo Sweets, again, I'll add the link below so you can grab your free copy, just pay shipping. I'll send you an email with a few tips and tricks for how to just get into paleo baking, especially if you're a little bit newer. Just a few things you need to know to make sure things turn out a little bit better. And I wanted to point out that I used a liquid measuring cup to measure the almond butter. And so this glass cup that you see, the ones that are pourable and they have the measurements on the sides. These are glass measuring cups. You want to use glass measuring cups for measuring liquid ingredients. And now we're going to jump to our dry measuring cups, which are the ones that you see that are usually like scoops. The measurements are a little bit different, and especially for measuring things like oil, it's really important to make sure you get the correct liquid amount. And for things like coconut flour, almond flour, and what we're about to add, coconut sugar, you'll use a dry scoop. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in 2/3 of a cup coconut sugar. And so that's another great thing about this recipe is it doesn't have a ton of sugar in it, and it has no refined sugar. So I love coconut sugar because it has a really yummy caramelly flavor, but it also has a really great prebiotic fiber in it. So it has what's called inulin, and that's going to help nourish your gut bacteria. So again, like I said, these are cookies. Woo, I'm just going to pour a little extra in there. That didn't work, did it? These are cookies you can feel good about eating. All right. So again, almond butter is a little bit on the thick side. So I'm going to scoop it all around. It's going to be well worth it. And it's all going to come together in the end in a nice, yummy dough. And this again is one of the recipes in Paleo Sweets that is a little bit more simple, and it's a little bit foolproof in a way. And I just want to let you know that if you're a novice to baking or if you're new to the paleo diet, don't be intimidated. I tried to make a wide variety of recipes to include in this cookbook, so you have some that are more simple that you feel comfortable getting started with, and then there are a couple that are a little bit more complicated for when you're really confident in your baking skills and you want to show off for someone. All right, so we're going to go ahead and finally going to add vanilla. Vanilla is one of my favorite ingredients to include in sweet recipes because it really enhances the sweetness, and it, I think, really complements the sugar, and you don't have to use quite as much, but it gives a nice depth. So I'm throwing in 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. So make sure you're using a pure vanilla extract, whether it's organic or not. You want to stay away from vanilla flavoring. Vanilla flavoring is artificial, and it has all kinds of crap in there that we don't want in our healthy, yummy paleo brownie cookies. So again, it's turning into a bit of a dough. And I can see it's all coming together. This is exactly what we want to see happening right now. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside for a second, and we'll move on to what makes this a brownie cookie is chocolate. So we have cocoa powder in here, 3 tablespoons. And we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of baking soda that's going to make the cookies nice and fluffy. Not too fluffy, just fluffy enough. So I have 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. I realize I'm like not even looking at the recipe. Let me just double check how much salt I'm supposed to put in. All right, I do actually use my own cookbook now. It's really convenient, especially because it's a hard copy. I personally like being able to grab the book and keep it with me in the kitchen and not have to refer to the computer. So yeah, perfect. 1/2 teaspoon baking soda. And then we're going to add just 1/4 teaspoon sea salt. And I always like to add a little bit of salt. Again, not because things necessarily need to be salty, but because salt is a really great flavor enhancer. So it's going to make the chocolate kind of pop a little bit more. And let's see. All right, I forgot to grab a fork, but I'm just going to use one of my little clean measuring spoons and stir this all up. One reason we're stirring these all together before we mix them into the dough is because you want to make sure that the baking soda and the salt get evenly distributed. And because the dough is really thick, it would make it easy for there to be a clump or a patch here and there. But if we mix it in with something like the cocoa powder, there's a little bit more of it. It's going to get really good and incorporated, and we can see the cocoa powder as it starts to darken the dough, so we can tell where we need to mix a little bit more or not. We can tell when it's done. All right, so I'm adding this in, just like so. And you can always add a little extra, you know, if you want to add 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder and make them like dark chocolate brownie cookies, I'm all for that. That would be delicious. But the cocoa powder is going to interact really well with the almond butter and absorb a little bit of the oil. So you want these to be nice and balanced and not greasy. And so again, when you get your copy of Paleo Sweets, you'll see that I recommend to use raw almond butter, and that's because there's a little bit less oil than in roasted almond butter, and it really helps it helps with just a nicer cookie in the end, makes it a little bit fluffier and a little more uniform. I went through, several rounds and experimentations because I wanted to give you guys the perfect recipe, and I found that when I used roasted almond butter, the cookies tended to have a little bit more oil in them. I still ate them all. I just want to clarify. I ate them, I shared them with friends, but if you want really pretty cookies that look like the ones in the book, use raw almond butter. All right. And as you can see, this dough is nice and chocolatey now. We can see that the cocoa powder has been mixed in all the way, so we know the baking powder is really uniform. And last but certainly not least, one of my favorite components that you can choose to add or not, but I love them in here and I think it makes it a lot like a brownie. It completes the brownie cookie experience. We have some chopped toasted almonds. I have about a 1/4 cup. I threw a few more in here today. And chopped toasted almonds are really easy to make yourself. You can always grab them at the store, but I think it costs a little bit more to buy the bag that's pre-chopped and toasted. What I do is I buy just raw walnut halves and pieces. I like to sprinkle them in my salad sometimes, but when I make these cookies, what you can do is take a cutting board, pour the walnuts on the cutting board and chop them up with a knife, and then you want to heat either a stainless steel frying pan or a cast iron skillet. Skip the non-stick pans because we don't need any of that plastic, and especially because you're going to heat the pan with no oil in it, we want to make sure it's made from a healthy material. So you'll heat the pan to about medium high, and then you'll throw the chopped almond, you'll throw chopped walnuts. You can make these double almond cookies if you want. But throw the walnuts in the pan and just kind of toss them around for a few seconds, and you'll start to smell them. And as you smell them, you'll know the oils are being released, they're being lightly toasted, they'll start to become a light golden color, and that's when you know you can remove the pan from the heat, and then you can leave them in there for a few more seconds or take them out immediately. They'll continue roasting a little bit, but it gives a really nice crunch. When you toast the walnuts ahead of time, they stay crunchy in the cookie batter. If you don't like as much crunch but you still want walnuts, don't toast them and they'll be a little bit softer. So you got options. Go ahead and throw those in. I love hanging out with you guys in my kitchen because I get to eat everything afterwards. So now I have a batch of cookie dough that's going to be in my freezer. So we'll throw the almonds in last, and we're just going to fold them in until you can see they are, again, kind of uniformly distributed. And see, the dough is coming together now in like a really nice, almost clean ball. It's kind of self-contained, and that's going to make the next step a lot easier. So I'll set this aside, move this over here, and I can show you guys what we're going to do so you can prep these cookies, keep them in your freezer. It's going to be so professional. So I have a piece of parchment paper. It's just about a foot long, 12 inches. It doesn't have to be too long, but we're going to be rolling the dough up in it, so you want to make it a little bit longer rather than shorter. So err on the side of caution in that sense. And I'm just going to take, again, my scraper, scrape into dough, bloop, just like that, into the center of the paper. I'm actually going to move it around because we want to make like a log with this. So this is where it gets to be fun. We're just going to start to shape the dough. I'm going to move it back so you can see it. We're going to shape the dough just by rolling the paper back towards us and then rolling the other side and then rolling it this way. And you can kind of start to press it out. So you want it to be the same thickness as much as possible. Again, it's not rocket science. It's cookie baking. So it doesn't have to be perfect. But we do want it to be a nice log. And you'll want to start to move it toward the side of the paper that's a little bit closer for you, because the next step we're going to do is fold it over, and I'm going to roll it once just so it's tucked, and then I'm going to take the ends, take my fingertips right here and start to push in at the ends, because you know, a lot of cookie dough you buy at the store, it's a little bit flatter on the sides, and we want to get as many uniform cookies as we can, so we're trying to create a cylinder. But you'll see, like, the dough is kind of flattening out, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. And what we're going to do is we're just going to continue to roll and then tuck in the ends. And I'll fold it over just a little bit. If you've ever rolled a burrito, it's kind of like rolling a burrito. I'm going to fold that over. And then there we go. So we have our log of cookie dough. But again, it's like a little bit formless. It's a little bit soft. So one thing I like to do, not only does this help preserve it in the freezer, but it helps it keep its shape a little bit more, is we're going to take a piece of aluminum foil. So aluminum foil, I cut it about the same size, 12 to 16 inches long. I'm going to set it down long ways out, and then I'm going to place the log of cookie dough, again, on the edge that's closest to me. Roll it over once, fold in the ends, and this, again, gives you a little bit more support because tin foil holds its shape. I know I'm like crinkling while I'm talking, so I hope it's not too distracting, but tin foil holds its shape. So this is when we can really start to create that nice uniform log of cookie dough. And you can kind of start to shape it a little bit more and roll and shape and look, voila. And this will bake about 12 to 14 cookies. So not only do I love to keep this in the freezer, but I love going camping. Or like my friends and I like to call it glamping. So we're not backpacking through the woods, but we drive our cars up to the campsite and we keep the cookie dough in like a freezer cooler. And my friends have this amazing gas-powered camping stove that has an oven built into it. So, I mean, this is next level. We take camping to the next level. But I always love to make a roll of cookie dough, keep it in the freezer, and then we can have fresh baked cookies when we're camping. So it's suitable for many, many environments. Any environment that you could have an oven and want to eat cookies in, you can have this cookie dough. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this in the freezer now. I suggest you freeze it at least a minimum of 2 hours, but what I like to do is make the dough just when I have some free time, not when I'm planning on making the cookies anytime soon. Leave it in the freezer at least overnight, and that allows it to really set. And one thing to note, and you'll see because I did bake some samples, of course, to show you guys what the end result looks like, but if you want to bake the cookies before the dough is fully set, the cookies turn out a little bit fluffier. They're still super delicious, they just don't look exactly like the picture in the cookbook. So I'll be right back. I'm going to pop this in the freezer, and I'm going to grab the dough I made earlier this morning. All right, so this is the dough that I made earlier today, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how easy it is to go ahead and prepare the cookies. So we just unwrap, unfold, unroll. And again, I just made this dough a little while ago, so it also isn't fully set, but you'll get the general idea. We unroll the dough. And I also want to note that you can use parchment paper, but you can also use, wax paper if that works a little bit better for you, or if you happen to have that on hand. Because we're not going to be baking in this exact container, you can use wax paper to roll up the dough as well. I'm going to go ahead and unroll it, and you can see I have a log of cookie dough, and it's beautiful and glorious and yummy. And again, not fully set, but you'll see I'll show you some tricks for still getting perfect cookies, other than getting cookie dough all over your hands. It's a high quality problem to have, I think. I'm taking a nice sharp, just chef's knife or chopping knife that I have, and I'm going to cut the dough into about a 1/4 inch slice. And I have a pan over here just with some parchment paper on it. Parchment paper is what you want to bake on, not wax paper. So I'm gonna bake 3, because I want 3 cookies. All right, 2 and 3. That's perfect. So again, if it's just like you and your hubby or your wife or your friend, or just you and your kids that night, you only want a couple of cookies and you don't, again, want to bake a dozen, it's perfect because you can pick exactly how many cookies you want, and you still have more cookies to look forward to later. So I'm going to go ahead and reverse the process. I'm going to roll the dough up, tuck in the ends, roll it like a burrito. A burrito cookie would also be delicious. I might have to work on that recipe. What would that look like? A dessert burrito. And then again, wrapping it up in the tin foil. Because remember, the tin foil is going to help preserve it and kind of prevent freezer burn and prevent it from losing its flavor. I'm rolling it up. I'm going to pop this back in the freezer. And I've kept the dough in the freezer for up to about a month. And it stays good, still tastes great. So I want to show you, like, these cookies are a little bit misshapen right now, but that ain't no problem. That's why we got hands. So I'm just going to go in and start to gently just shape the cookies back into a little bit of a circle. I promise they will taste just as good if they're like a half circle or any other kind of random shape you want to make them into. Just like that. And I have my oven preheated to about 350 degrees. And that's about it. done and done. So I'm going to pretend to pop these in the oven. I'll set them over here. And what I'm going to do is show you guys the cookies that I baked earlier. So this is my baking sheet. I have one of these silicone slip mat sheets, and it makes it really easy to clean up. And it's reusable. So if you know you're going to be baking cookies a lot, you can always choose to invest in that. I got mine, I believe I got it at Bed Bath & Beyond, but you can definitely find them online at Amazon.com. So these cookies, I want to tell you guys a special secret about them. I wanted to experiment a little bit with making some cookies that could be made nut-free. I get emails from concerned parents and from people who have nut sensitivities or kids with nut allergies. And so I went ahead, and this batch of cookie dough that I made is made with sunflower seed butter. So it's just sunflower seeds that have been roasted and ground up, and this has a little bit of salt in it. But I want to tell you that if you do want to make your kids a treat that is nut-free, leave out the walnuts, use sunflower seed butter instead of almond butter, and you move through the recipe exactly the same. And this is specifically ideal for using sunflower seed butter because there's chocolate in it. And so if you don't want cookies that taste like sunflower seeds, this is perfect. I'll go ahead and I'll show you guys. I did add, added some pecans because I do love nuts and it's safe to have them in my diet. So I like to have a few every now and then. But I want to show you guys, look, yummy, fluffy cookies, flourless, paleo, slice and bake, brownie cookies. These are so good. I'm really excited, again, to share these with you guys. Can you smell it? Can you taste it? So that's it. Super simple. Again, I love sharing recipes with you guys, especially from Paleo Sweets. I'm going to add the link below. You can grab your free copy, just pay shipping. But I love sharing recipes with you guys so you can continue to experience the variety on the paleo diet. I know personally that was one thing I was afraid of when I started to go paleo. I considered it and I was like, it seems so restricted, but there's really so much variety once you know what you're looking for and once you have a great selection of recipes. So you can also check out the PaleoHacks site for more great recipes, not only desserts, but dinners and snacks. Grab your free copy of Paleo Sweets, just pay shipping. Click the link below that I will add as soon as I'm off this video. And if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and drop a line in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to enjoy the rest of these cookies, and I will see you guys soon. All right? Mwah. Bye.